Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to dive into AI February 2025. You guys have sent over a ton of sources, Reddit threads, Discord summaries, even some AI-generated Twitter recaps.
Wow.
It's a lot, but that's what we're here for. We'll break it all down and see what really matters in AI right now. Just skimming through, I'm already seeing OpenAI DeepSeek, new models, developer tools. It's a lot to unpack.
I know, it's incredible how much is out there about AI. It just shows you how fast the field is growing and,
Yeah.
how much interest there is.
Definitely. It's not just hype, I mean. We're seeing some real changes happening. Take DeepSeek, for example, this Chinese AI company. They're really shaking things up. Their models are actually outperforming some of the big names in the West.
Yeah, DeepSeek's latest model, DeepSeek R1, is a great example. It's been doing some amazing things solving problems like, you remember that math problem, the one with the palindromic numbers?
One that even OpenAI's O1 was struggling with.
That's the one that really got people talking.
I remember reading about that. DeepSeek R1, it figured out how to self-correct on that problem. It's pretty amazing, and it really shows how quickly AI is catching up, sometimes surpassing human capabilities.
Right. But it does make you think. There have been some reports that DeepSeek R1, it's not doing so well on those safety tests, which, when you think about how powerful these systems are, that's a little concerning.
That's a worrying thought. I mean, their problem-solving skills are amazing, but how do we balance that? How do we
Yeah.
balance those concerns with the progress, especially with how the global landscape is changing? You've got DeepSeek in China, Mistral in Europe. Everyone's releasing these super powerful models,
Yeah.
and they're becoming more accessible.
Multipolar, that's the word I was thinking of.
Multipolar, yeah.
And this shift, this global AI landscape, it raises some big questions. Will Eastern and Western AI development diverge? What if countries stop collaborating? Like Senator Josh Hawley, he wants to restrict work with Chinese AI research.
Right.
Could that actually slow us down?
It's a tricky situation. Collaboration is key to progress. But how do we make sure that development is responsible? When there are all these worries about safety and potential misuse, it's a really tough balancing act.
Absolutely. And speaking of balancing acts, OpenAI's been busy. They launched their operator feature. It's like a deep research assistant to make things easier. And then there's O3 Mini. It's been a busy few weeks for them.
It seems like everyone's trying to stay ahead of the curve,
Wow.
which makes sense with how fast things are moving. What do you think about their test time scaling? They use just 1,000 examples, but really carefully chosen, and they got great results. Is that the future of AI training?
It's definitely interesting using a smaller data set, but a really focused one that could really boost efficiency.
Yeah, especially with how much it takes to train these massive models. But like with anything new, there are going to be some bumps in the road. It sounds like O3 Mini, even with all the hype. It's still got some kinks to work out. Some people are saying it's slow for coding. It gives incomplete answers sometimes. And a lot of developers, they're sticking with Claude 3.5 Sonnet. What does that tell us?
It shows that even with all the progress we're making, there's always room to grow. User feedback is so important, it really shapes where AI goes next. What's really interesting, though, is OpenAI isn't just focused on software. They're reportedly working on hardware, AI-specific hardware, to replace smartphones. Can you imagine?
Wow.
They might even be working with Jony Ive on the design, a whole new kind of device built for AI.
That's ambitious. I can only imagine the design if Jony Ive is involved. But will it actually be the next big thing? Or is it just another hype cycle? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Me too. It shows you how ambitious everyone is in AI. They're always pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Okay, let's talk about AI safety. This is always top of mind, especially with how powerful these models are becoming. I was reading about Anthropic's work on constitutional classifiers. It sounds like they're trying to keep AI systems safe from manipulation.
They are. It's a really cool approach. They're using synthetic data to train these classifiers, trying to stop what they call jailbreaks. When people try to trick the AI into doing things it shouldn't.
Right, right. But can we really protect against everything? AI is constantly evolving, and so are the ways people try to manipulate it. And then you've got the problem of hallucinations. I read that even advanced systems like deep research, sometimes they just make things up.
Yeah, it's true. There was this example where Deep Research, it wrote a whole report, even cited a research paper, and the paper didn't even exist.
Wow.
It makes you think, can we really rely on AI for accurate information?
Right. It's like, how do you trust something that just makes things up? Especially when you see those graphs, the ones that show AI beating human experts in accuracy. It's impressive, but is that the whole story?
Exactly. Lots of experts say true understanding, reasoning. Those are still things where humans have the edge.
So maybe it's not about replacing humans, but more about how AI and humans can work together. effectively.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing to think about as we keep exploring what AI can do. It really is a fascinating dance, figuring out how to get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's not forget about the tools themselves. There's some really cool stuff happening in the world of AI hardware and software.
I was just reading about this potential shift away from GPUs, for AI development. It seems like some developers are looking at CPU and RAM setups instead,
Yeah.
especially for people working on their own. Maybe it's more cost effective.
Yeah, especially with high-end EPYC systems, they're becoming more affordable. It could really change things, make AI development accessible to more people.
It's almost like the playing field is leveling, right? It used to be just
Yeah.
the big companies, but now, with cheaper hardware, smaller teams can get involved, even individuals.
And then on the software side, there's this thing called dynamic quantization. Imagine shrinking an AI model by 80%
80%.
without losing any accuracy.
That's incredible. What could we do with that?
I know, right? Imagine running AI on your phone or even smaller devices.
That's mind-blowing.
And then there's this technique called budget forcing. Basically, it gives the AI more time to double-check its work.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like saying, hey, take your time, make sure you're really sure about the answer.
Exactly.
It's funny. Whenever I hear about AI reaching human-level performance, I always think about those CAP-TCHA tests. Pretty soon, AI will be better at proving it's human than we are.
Aha, that's a good one.
But seriously, though, there are some really complex techniques being developed, like GRPO, Group Relative Policy Optimization. It's a mouthful,
Yeah.
I know. But it's showing some really impressive results.
All these advancements, the hardware, the algorithms, they're really pushing the limits of what AI can do.
It's a really exciting time to be following all of this.
It
Okay, let's talk about open source AI. It's a trend that's been gaining a lot of traction. Models like Mistral and QA, they're becoming more popular. And they're a good alternative to some of the closed source models, from companies like OpenAI.
What's really cool about open source is how fast things move. Remember that story about Open Deep Research?
Yeah.
They replicated it in just 12 hours.
12 hours, that's amazing.
It just shows you the power of collaboration and how quickly things are moving in the open source community.
That's incredible. But it does raise some questions. With more access comes new challenges, right? What does this open source movement mean for the future of AI? Will it lead to more democratization, or will it make existing inequalities worse?
Those are the million-dollar questions. It's a double-edged sword, Open access to powerful AI, it could empower people, level the playing field, but it also raises concerns about misuse. We need to think about responsible development and deployment.
For sure. Speaking of tools, there are lots of updates in AI tooling and IDEs.
Oh yeah, Windsurf just released a patch for their Cascade feature. You can integrate web searches now right into your workflow using commands like at web and at docs.
That sounds pretty useful.
It is. It's a nice little addition to their AI coding tool.
But I did read that some people are having issues with DeepSeek tool calls and context loss in Windsurf. And there have been some complaints about the pricing, like no student discounts.
Yeah, you're right. Even with these fancy tools, it seems like there's still a gap between what people expect and what the technology can actually do.
That's true. It happens with every new technology, though. There's always a learning curve.
Absolutely. Another tool that caught my eye was Aider. They just released version 0.73.0. It supports O3 Mini now.
Oh, nice.
And it has this new thing, a reasoning effort control.
That sounds interesting. What is that?
It lets you adjust how much reasoning the AI uses.
Oh, cool. So you can kind of fine-tune it.
Yeah, it's great to see developers giving users more control.
I agree.
And then you've got Cursor IDE. They added some new features too, like a checkpoint restore option.
That's handy.
But some people are complaining about their change logs. They're not very clear. It's hard to tell what actually changed.
Transparency is so important, especially for developers who rely on these tools.
Absolutely. And speaking of transparency, there's been some grumbling about OpenAI and O3 Mini.
Yeah, heard that too.
It's a new model, but some developers are finding it a bit slow and not as reliable for coding as some other options, like Claude 3.5 Sonnet.
Right. It's always a trade-off with these new models.
To try and address those concerns, OpenAI is doing an AMA with Sam Altman and Mark Chen to talk about O3 Mini. It'll be interesting to see what they say.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. It shows they're listening to the community.
Exactly. It's all about building trust and making sure AI development is going in the right direction,
Absolutely. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about LLM training and optimization. It feels like there's always a new technique popping up.
Oh, yeah. One that's getting a lot of attention is dynamic quantization. Basically, it lets
Right.
you shrink AI models without sacrificing accuracy.
Right, we were talking about that earlier.
There's this company, Unsloth AI. They specialize in AI optimization. They claim they've shrunk models like DeepSeek R1 by 80%, but they have run into some issues with certain quantization standards.
80%, that's insane. It's remarkable how much progress is being made.
Yeah.
What other techniques are people working on?
There's a lot happening in reinforcement learning, especially with GRPO, Group Relative Policy Optimization. It's been outperforming other methods like DPO, Direct Preference Optimization, especially for models like Llama 27B.
It's fascinating to see how people are making these models
Yeah.
more efficient, more powerful,
It is.
and they come up with some pretty interesting names for these techniques.
Oh, yeah, like budget forcing.
I love that name.
Right. It basically helps AI systems double-check their answers by giving them more time to think.
It's like saying, hey, take a moment, make sure you got it right.
Exactly. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and accuracy.
Speaking of speed, we can't forget about the hardware.
True. Even the best AI algorithms need powerful hardware to run on.
I've been hearing a lot about GPU performance lately, especially comparisons between the RTX 5090 and the RTX 4090.
Oh, yeah. Those are the big ones right now.
It seems like the 5090 is winning the race so far. Some benchmarks show it can be up to 60% faster than the 4090 for token processing in large models.
Yeah, token processing speed is super important, especially for things like natural language processing.
Absolutely. NVIDIA has been kind of dominating the AI hardware scene, but AMD is catching up with their new GPUs. But their top card, the RX 7900 XTX, it's struggling with those big LLMs, generating tokens slower than NVIDIA's cards.
It's interesting to see how the competition is heating up. It pushes everyone to innovate, which is good for us in the end.
For sure, but it's not always about having the newest, most expensive hardware.
You're right, there are some really smart optimization techniques out there, like using shared GPU memory in platforms like LM Studio. That way people can use their existing VRAM more effectively when they're running these big models on their own machines.
That's really important, especially for people who don't have access to huge computing resources.
Exactly, it's all about making AI more accessible.
Okay, let's circle back to DeepSeek for a second. They've been making big waves, but there's still some mystery surrounding them. Like how many parameters are actually in DeepSeek R1? Some sources say 14 billion, others say 7 billion.
It's not unusual to see some discrepancies like that, especially with companies that aren't as transparent about their process.
Right, and it's worth noting that DeepSeek has faced some criticism. You know those reports about DeepSeek R1 failing safety tests? It raises some serious questions about their technology.
Yeah, safety is a huge concern. It's crucial that developers prioritize safety alongside performance.
Absolutely. You know, in the middle of all this serious stuff, I came across something that made me laugh. There's this running joke that you can't be a brilliant AI researcher and good at naming things.
Haha, yeah, I've heard that one.
It's kind of true, though. The names can be a bit clunky.
It's true, but it's kind of endearing, too. It reminds us that even with all this advanced technology, there's still a human element to it all.
That's a good point. Speaking of the human element, there's been a lot of talk about the future of work and AI. Some people are worried that AI will replace jobs. Others think it will create new opportunities.
It's definitely a big topic.
And AI is already having a big impact on creative fields. People are using AI tools to create art, music, even writing.
There's this cool tool I saw called Llama Parse. It uses AI to turn PDFs into PowerPoint presentations.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great example of how AI can automate those tedious tasks and free up human creativity.
That sounds super useful.
It is, but it does raise some questions. How do we make sure AI is used ethically in creative fields? How do we protect intellectual property rights when AI can create so much content?
It's a whole new world of possibilities, but with new possibilities come new challenges.
That's for sure.
It's not just creative fields that are being impacted. AI is transforming education too. People are using AI to personalize learning, to give students more support.
Yeah, platforms like Notebook LM, which is integrated into Google Workspace, they're using it to create interactive learning materials and to give students access to tons of information.
That's exciting. But there are concerns about fairness and accessibility too. How do we make sure all students benefit from these tools? How do we prevent AI from reinforcing biases?
Those are really important questions. We need to be thoughtful about how we use AI in education to make sure it helps everyone.
I agree. And of course, there's the impact of AI on scientific research. I know you're particularly interested in that.
I am. It's an area where AI has the potential to really revolutionize things.
Absolutely. I was reading about how AI is being used to analyze data from the James Webb Space Telescope.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yes, researchers are using AI to identify and classify celestial objects, to study the composition of stars and galaxies, even to search for signs of extraterrestrial life.
That's incredible. AI is helping us unlock the secrets of the universe.
It's mind-blowing.
It really shows you the power of AI
Yeah.
and how it can expand our understanding of the world around us.
But it also raises new challenges, right? How do we make sure AI is used ethically in scientific research? How do we balance the benefits with the need for human oversight and expertise?
Those are the big questions we need to be asking as AI becomes a bigger part of research.
We need to have these open and honest conversations about the implications of AI and work together to figure out some guidelines for its use.
It's all about finding that balance between innovation and responsibility.
Exactly. And speaking of responsibility, there's been a lot of discussion about AI regulation.
Oh, yeah, governments are starting to realize they need to figure out how to regulate AI.
Right. In the U.S., lawmakers are looking at legislation to limit collaboration with Chinese AI research. They're worried about national security and economic competitiveness.
It's a complex issue with big consequences.
It really shows the need for international cooperation.
AI is a global thing. We need to work together.
Okay, one last topic before we wrap up this part. Ethical considerations of using AI for content creation. We're seeing so much AI-generated content these days. Text, images, music, even videos.
Platforms like Stable Diffusion and Daily 2, they make it so easy for anyone to create AI content.
It's pretty amazing how these tools are making creativity more accessible.
It is, but there are concerns about misuse too. How do we stop people from using AI to create harmful or misleading content? How do we protect intellectual property rights when AI can create art?
Those are tough questions. As AI content becomes more common, we really need to think about these things.
We need to have those conversations, develop some ethical guidelines.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our AI deep dive. We've looked at new models and algorithms, hardware and software advancements, and some of the ethical and societal questions that AI is raising.
It's a fascinating field, and it's changing so quickly.
It's clear that AI is going to play a huge role in our lives.
It already is.
But it's important to remember that AI is a tool, and its impact really depends on the choices we make.
That's a good point.
We need to approach AI with both excitement and responsibility.
To embrace its potential while being mindful of the risks.
And we need to keep talking about these things, about the future of AI, to make sure that its development aligns with our values and our hopes for a better world.
I agree.
So as we head into the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some of the key takeaways from all of this and consider what's next for this incredible technology. Welcome back for the last part of our deep dive. It's been a wild ride through AI.
Yeah, it really has. New models, algorithms, hardware, ethical questions. It's a lot to take in.
So let's step back for a second. What are the big takeaways here?
I think the biggest one is just how much AI is changing. New stuff coming out all the time, new models, new techniques. It's exciting, but it's almost too much to keep up with sometimes.
I know what you mean. It feels like every time you think you've got a grasp on things, everything changes.
Exactly, but that's also what makes it so interesting, right? Another big takeaway is that AI is becoming more accessible. Open source models, cheaper hardware, easier to use tools. It's like AI is being democratized, which could be amazing for innovation.
It is exciting, but it's also a little scary, isn't it? I mean, how do we make sure all this power is used for good?
That's the key question. It's not just about building smarter AI. It's about building AI that helps humanity, AI that aligns with our values. And that means thinking about ethics. We have to consider the impact of AI, how it's used.
We can't wait until it's too late to have that conversation.
Yeah.
AI is already part of our lives, whether we realize it or not. You know, personalized recommendations, AI assistance, advancements in healthcare and research, it's everywhere.
And we're just getting started. This is just the beginning.
It makes you wonder what the world will be like in a few years.
It's exciting and a little bit daunting.
Yeah, for sure. And something else that's become really clear. AI development is global. It's not just happening in one place.
Right, we're seeing amazing work coming from all over the world.
Like DeepSeek in China, Mistral in Europe. The AI landscape is becoming multipolar, which is interesting.
It raises questions about how countries will work together. Will they collaborate? Or will it be more competitive?
It's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, AI is a global phenomenon. It needs a global approach. We have to find ways to work together, share knowledge, make sure AI benefits everyone.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps on this AI journey?
I think it starts with education, making sure people understand AI, both the potential and the risks. We need to talk about ethics, develop guidelines, regulations for how AI is developed and used.
We need to give people the knowledge to make informed decisions about how they want AI to be a part of their lives and a part of society.
And we need a culture of responsibility in the AI community. We have to make sure we're developing AI that's safe, fair, and beneficial.
It's a big challenge, but I think we're up for it. So to our listener, we leave you with this. What excites you most about the future of AI, and what worries you most? Think about those questions, explore the resources we've linked, keep diving into this amazing world.
Because the future of AI, it's not something that's happening to us. It's something we're all creating together.